Greetings, terrestrials! Today is March 18th, 2021, and these are some strange times indeed. You're watching Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre. I, of course, Cliff McCallister, your host. Welcome to the program. Every week on this show, we take calls from viewers to hear about their encounters with the strange, with the unexplained, but this week it's a little different. We've got some special guests on the program this week. But we can't get to that just yet. We've got some top stories coming up. Look at that footage from an old episode. We are rocking and rolling tonight. Folks, I want to tell you there is some news coming out of the UK. 200 Europeans were surveyed. And amongst them, they said that Arnold Schwarzenegger would be the human being best equipped to handle an extraterrestrial invasion. Now, it's clear to me that our European viewership is not quite strong enough yet. You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger at number 1 and Will Smith with number 2. And Will Smith, he is a Scientologist, so he probably has a little bit of a leeway talking to the extraterrestrials there. Hey, look at all the folks in the chat. So excited to join us tonight. Welcome to Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. If you know someone in Europe, please tell them about this program. We've got to get on the right track. So Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre, the person who regular viewers will tell you is most equipped to handle an extraterrestrial invasion, tell your European friends he's the one you want at the top of your list, not Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're not getting to the chopper. All right, let's get into it, folks. You might have seen the preview, the trailer, before we began tonight's program. The Maryland Ensemble Theater, the only theater with the guts to put us on the air, has a new documentary coming out, their first feature film, Something Brilliant, The Rise and Fall of the Illumination Cult. And we are so blessed here at Strange Times Indeed because we've got the directors of this wonderful film, Tad James and Gené Fouché, joining us tonight. Stephen, let's bring them on. Tad, Gené, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hi, Cliff.
Tad, Gené, thank you so much for joining us here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. You've got a new film out. Why don't you tell us about it?
Something Brilliant. It's based on a show that we did some time ago at Maryland Ensemble Theater, and it's about the Illumination Cult.
The Illumination Cult. Yes, I remember this. Keen-eyed viewers who saw the trailer might have noticed the Czar of the Bizarre right there in your film. I was given a tape of one of these cult meetings, and they said, "Study this. You're in the movie." So I did just that, and I'm watching this Illumination meeting and just taking in information. Tell us about Illumination. Who were they? What did they do?
Go ahead.
Well, there was a cult. There was a group that we were trying to figure out why people join cults, why people join groups at all, really. When you think about an ensemble theater company and people join it, why do people join? To get a sense of camaraderie, etc. And when you look at cults, and we studied what cults do, and we have experts in the film that talk about cults. And the Illumination Cult was a group of people that came together that kind of gave up their families, gave up the outside world, became very insular, and relied on each other. But then ultimately they were duped.
Yeah, they had a positive message though within the group, So the whole dogma, the whole purpose of the group was to find the brilliance inside yourself, and then to share that brilliance with others. And so the thought was that everyone had brilliance inside of you. You just haven't maybe found it yet. So when they would join the cult, they would find their brilliance, and then they were hooked.
Well, I gotta say, if that's the pitch, sign me up. It's a very positive thing. I feel myself. Perhaps I have some brilliance. Say, if that's the pitch, you two obviously have some brilliance putting this whole film together.
Well, it took a lot of people. It took a lot of people to put this together. So, but it's a piece that I feel like that we got down to it, got to the meat of it. Hopefully, we were able to tell the story for the viewers pretty clear and concise. And you know, we've had some great people that are connected to the film. Some great
people from all over the world in this film.
Right. People from Norway, people from New Mexico, people from New Zealand, South Carolina, all over the place.
Incredible. An international film. And I hear there's also some intergalactic happenings within the story of this.
It's kind of sad, actually. One of the members of the cult, her name was Cropper, and she would make these crop circles. This was when the cult was alive. She was out there in the fields making these crop circles, and then she had a twin who was also in the cult. And after the raid happened, they went out to one of the crop circles and were taken up into this alien ship.
Incredible.
So, yeah, and B-Fly, who is the twin of Cropper, came back, but Cropper
was never the same.
Wow. So not everybody from that original footage came back, but it's because their stories are so frightening.
Right. Well,
so
B-Fly tells that story in the film.
Well, you should hope they're twins. They've got that mental telepathy connection between them, as all twins do.
They do. They I know that they feel each other.
Wow. And so we've got stories of people being sucked into extraterrestrial ships. We've got crop circles. Stephen, I believe we even have a picture of Cropper, because we've talked about this on the program before. There are 4 publicized forms of close encounters. The first kind, where you see a ship. The second kind, that's like a crop circle. There's evidence of a ship. The third kind, where you see an extraterrestrial being. And the fourth kind, where you're abducted. But there is a close encounter of the 5th kind, in which folks attempt to make contact with extraterrestrials from Earth. Sometimes this is done through meditation, but Cropper really pioneered it, because Cropper would do these human crop circles to contort her body to send signals out into space.
And it seemed to have worked.
It seems to have. So I gotta say, if you're trying to make contact, you find yourself a nice field out. I mean, we're in the middle of Frederick County, Maryland. There are fields all over the place. Just find a field, lay down in there, and start making shapes. And if something happens, you know who to call, you know where to go. Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister.
But be careful, because you don't want to end up like Cropper.
That's true. It does seem as if there could be some jarring side effects of extraterrestrial abduction. Here we go. I've got a comment coming in from the chat. Was Cropper any relation to Steve Cropper from Booker T and the MGs?
Steve the Colonel Cropper, also from Blues Brothers fame. Cropper was a nickname for this person, for Cropper in the film. So unfortunately, probably might have been taken from Steve Cropper, or she may have known of Steve Cropper, but it was really more about crop circles than Steve the Colonel Cropper.
I would have to say, I'd say, given my own expertise in the film, and the field, I would say Cropper, probably short for crop circles more so than Booker T.
Absolutely. Although, really like Booker T and the MGs, though. Good stuff.
Yes, thanks for putting that question in the chat. If you're watching along and you've got questions for the filmmakers of Something Brilliant, The Rise and Fall of the Illumination Cult, feel free to put it right there in the chat. We're on Facebook tonight. Normally we're just on Twitch, but the people of the Maryland Ensemble Theater Facebook page got to hear about this film.
Yeah, and they've been chatting already, Cliff. You told me to look out for the Facebook chat. It's funny, are there any aliens in this film was a question by Laura Stark right before you started talking about aliens. Really creepy that connection happened. And then they were going off like crazy talking about how creepy twins are and the creepy twin connection. And then Alex Toll says, nice shades, Tad. So.
And really, we're not going to tell you whether they're aliens in this film because we don't want to give it away.
Right.
You never want to give too much away from a film.
Yeah, don't want to spoil it too much.
About their nicknames is that when a cult leader wants to attract members and make them stay in the cult, it's often important to strip them of their identity. So all of the cult members in the Illumination Cult have a nickname that they go by. So although they lived by a former name that they were given at birth, they gave up that name to become Cropper or B-Fly.
Or that lovable cast of characters.
Yes.
Like Happy or Rocker. Or
and the Illumination Cult, of course, run by the infamous Illuminex.
That's right.
Nobody really knows who Illuminex is.
Very shady character. We know that he's probably got money. He probably was using this as an enjoyment, and then eventually as running drugs, I guess. But I think the guy had money, so I think it was really more for his own enjoyment.
Yeah, and nobody there was only one person in the entire group that even had met Illuminex before. His name was Reggie. So Reggie would write these letters and send them to the group. They also weren't supposed to have contact outside, so they didn't read newspapers. They didn't have internet. They didn't watch television, any of that. All of their news came from Reggie, who would send them a weekly newsletter type thing that they would read in their service. So they had a weekly, some people would look at that like a church service or something like that. And they would invite people from the public into those services too. They were not private. They may have had private sessions of their own, but we didn't really get into that.
There were
And this
kind of
is-
recruitment as well, yeah. And you can imagine why you would take on the name like Illuminex, because Reggie is such an intimidating name.
There are some tough Reggies out there, that's for sure. Unfortunately, a lot of them have that adjective right up front. Oh, that's tough Reggie. But these meetings you're talking about, these are their Tuesday night spaghetti dinners.
Not necessarily. There were two different things. So
All
they
right.
had two recruitment opportunities where they could recruit members. The first was just a community outreach where they would have a weekly Tuesday spaghetti dinner. And everybody in the community would come to these very cheap weekly dinners. And spaghetti and meatballs was always on the menu every week. It never changed. But at these, they would pass out these flyers and postcards and things that said, find your light on Tuesday night. So that was kind of the catchphrase to get people there. And then when they were there, the members would cozy up to the diners and invite them to their service. So then they would have their service where they would read these letters from Reggie that were always enlightening and pretty positive.
And so these are their Tuesday, but an outreach program.
Yeah.
They're there. Reggie is sending in letters to these services, which is the tape that I watched. So the tape I watched was not their spaghetti dinner.
No.
But they're full services, because I do remember at least hearing about meatballs during the programming. But I guess that's such a core part of their belief system.
Yeah, we didn't have any footage of the spaghetti dinners. We only had footage of the actual services.
That makes sense. Well, this is quite a fascinating film. I've got to say, are any other particular members that stand out from the Illumination group? Who's your maybe favorite member, or somebody whose story speaks to you as filmmakers?
Well, I think they're all lovable in their own way, really. We have Dew, who is very
heartwarming.
Yes.
She's very giving, very kind and compassionate. So you can see when they put her out in front of the audience that people are just drawn to her. She's warm and friendly.
And then there's Rocker, who is really more of a spiritual kind of guy. And he led the music for the group. He was kind of the music band leader because they wrote original songs for their services. And so he was very metaphysical and philosophical in his own belief system. And so those two are standouts. But then you have Lumi, who is so caught up in the whole system that she is probably the most passionate for the dogma of the organization, I would say.
And they actually had a rock group that went and toured for a while called the Lumineers. Not the Lumineers.
The
Lumineers are a popular band that toured for a while.
That's right. Right. The Illuminators.
The Illuminators. Sorry about that. And
that's probably where the Lumineers got their name from.
Exactly. I'm sure that they saw
Yeah.
one of their concerts. But Lumi was part of that. And Rocker, of course, was the band leader. And then Twinkle was also a part of that band. But Twinkle, we couldn't get access to Twinkle. She didn't want to talk to us.
That makes sense. I mean, some folks, you're in a cult. You sometimes you get out of there and you just don't want to talk about it. And understandable.
Actually, I'm surprised that we got as many as we did to talk to us.
From the original cult, yes.
Yes, it's so much fun. I imagine to have found this footage, or to even attend one of their services, and then to be able to get back in touch with them so many years later and get them to open up about being in this cult.
Well, I think there was enough distance. We did most of these interviews, within the last year, and the cult's demise was 2007. So they've all had some time to heal and to see where they have gone since then. So there's
the demise was actually 2010.
Right.
Because it was the 10-year anniversary. 2007 was when we did the original show at Maryland Ensemble Theater.
The original show?
Yeah.
The cult service that you saw, the videotape that you saw.
Yes, yeah.
That was in 2007.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. You said it was a show at the Maryland Ensemble Theater for a moment there, and I thought, well, that's odd. I watched the tape of their church service.
It is their service, yes.
All right.
It was those who showed up, that's for sure.
Stephen, yes?
The Facebook chat has been going off, making all kind of connections.
Tell us about it.
Well, there was a lot of comments surrounding the subject of aliens, and then Ellie Bendel Simso was replying to Laura Stark, there's no other explanation for Planet Claire. I just going off of these alien themes, I think the Facebook chat's making connections beyond my expectations.
Now, Stephen or Tad and Gené, whoever wants to answer this, what is Planet Claire?
Planet Claire was a show that Tad wrote on the way to South Carolina In the car.
The idea was developed that.
And you were driving while writing this musical?
Driving while writing it in his head. I think I must have been sleeping.
The idea, yeah. We had a small child at the time. We were driving to South Carolina overnight because, you know, when you have a small child, kind of the best time to drive is at night when they're asleep.
Yeah, and you can't let the child drive so you can write your musical.
So it was probably 3 o'clock in the morning and I was listening to the B-52's music and just thought there's one song in particular called Hero Worship that if you listen to it, I mean, the story of it is very much like a Greek tragedy. So I thought, oh, wow, this is really like a Greek tragedy. And wouldn't it be interesting if you wrote a musical kind of with this as kind of a basis, and then that's where it kind of went.
And I suppose that went into outer space somehow.
Well, if you know the B-52's music, they certainly are otherworldly.
Oh, I know the B-52's music. Let me tell you, sometimes when you gotta sing a song on the air, you gotta shift into somebody else's voice. But if I ever have to sing the B-52's on the air, but Cliff McCallister doesn't have to drop into a baritone or anything.
You can just do that saying like Fred Schneider does.
We were at the beach, and everybody had matching towels.
There you go.
There's my audition for the next reboot of Planet Claire.
But it wasn't a rock.
It was a rock lobster.
And
Have you seen a rock lobster? Call in. Share your lobster stories on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. Stephen, you were going to say something? You were interrupting me, and then I interrupted you?
Perhaps Planet Claire is an introduction to the cult of Maryland Ensemble Theater. Now, this was a comment in the Facebook chat by another Laura Stark comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
she would.
You can't let the child drive to write your musical. That's your quote. Alex Toll likes your quote.
Well, thank you for echoing my words. I always encourage our viewers to share the Gospel of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister whenever they're out in the world. Tad and Gené, here's a comment from over on Twitch. Barefoot52 says, I remember the Illumination Cult, and I still have a button that they gave me.
Yeah.
You've got a button right there. And so they would give these buttons out at meetings?
They would. It was they were very good at their marketing. Spaghetti dinners, free spaghetti dinners. They were giving summer camp classes for free and handing out buttons at services. What more would you want? And free Kool-Aid.
Incredible. Free Kool-Aid, free spaghetti. That's a meal and a half. Free camp. They take care of the kids, and you know what? There are some cults out there that will take care of people's kids, and it doesn't go so well. And we will not say what cults those are on the air, but trust me, it's the one that's very litigious.
And you can see a little bit about those kids. We have those kids revisited as well.
And it seems like from the film, they were in much better conditions than this other group would leave them.
Well, not all of the kids actually joined the cult.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they tried to get the kids to join, and then they invited the parents in. So they would talk to the parents and try to get the parents to join because they had their kids in camp.
That's rough. And that's a troubling sign in a cult when they try to rope the children in. I'll tell you, there's one old cult, the Heaven's Gate cult. They wouldn't let anyone under 18 in. You got to have an age limit on your cults. Yeah. Let people make up their minds before they just run into the woods with some group.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's got to be some ethics when it comes to cults.
Sounds like you have the basis for one yourself, Cliff.
Well, I would never be so bold. But who knows? Maybe one day we'll have a Patreon or something. or a live show. Anything could happen in the world of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. Well, hey, how about this? Tad, Gené, you were telling me before the show you used to live in a haunted house. Is that true?
Yes.
All right.
Did. I don't know that Tad believed that we lived in a haunted house.
I don't have the shine.
Surely our roommate saw the ghost.
Yes.
Well,
if Lincoln is out there, he would certainly testify.
Before we get into this spooky story, let's go ahead and, Stephen, let's roll that trailer for Something Brilliant. Anyone who might have missed it at the beginning, this is the show coming out Saturday, March 20th from the Maryland Ensemble Theater, the only theater with the guts to put us on the air. You can get access to that at marylandensemble.org/somethingbrilliant. Stephen, let's roll that clip, and we'll be right back with Tad and Gené and some spooky stories.
It's been 3 days since the raid on this warehouse by the ATF, and the entire Illumination religious group has dispersed.
The group had congregated for their weekly spaghetti dinner and was just about to raise a glass for their traditional toast when officials stormed the event searching for illegal drugs.
Everybody was so kind to me and so friendly, and I just felt like I was home.
The environment was just intoxicating.
What is on the fringes of beliefs? What are people discovering?
Find Your Light on Tuesday night.
They had me at spaghetti.
That's when I knew this is a tribe I can get down with.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
That I was looking for a human connection.
And so that pulled more people in. It's a very inclusive atmosphere because once you're in, you are brilliant too.
Charge it up! Charge it!
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
They have a lot of control over you. You lose contact with your friends. Then after a while, you think that you need to be in this place.
I started seeing them also as people and not eccentric personalities. And once I did, it was really disappointing.
So my spidey senses were sensing that it was kind of weird.
I mean, I don't even know if, and all of them know that they were even associated with a cult.
I just assumed it was some sort of like mega church creepy Jesus kind of a thing, you know?
I'm not a huge proponent of this satanic alien orgy thing going on every Tuesday night.
You are not going to believe this.
Here's just the circle that worked out. This is the circle that don't, not, but here I am today.
Chanting, power up, power up, power up.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
I didn't know they were in a cult. I thought they were just dicks.
Hi, Cliff McCallister, the czar of the bizarre, and you are watching Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister right here on the Maryland Ensemble Theater's Facebook page and on twitch.tv/medcomedynight. Every week on this show, we take calls from viewers to hear about their experience with the unexplained. You might have watched the first half of our show. You might have seen the trailer that was just on screen. For Something Brilliant, The Rise and Fall of the Illumination Cult, an original feature film from the Maryland Ensemble Theater. And this show, like every week's show, dedicated to the Maryland Ensemble Theater because they're the only theater with the guts to put us on the air. If you love what we've been doing here, you can support them by going to marylandensemble.org/donate. And don't forget, if you're watching this, if you got to get your comedy fix, tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, Oh Crit, the Dungeons & Dragons improv show, will be performing live on twitch.tv/metcomedynight and the Maryland Ensemble Theater's Facebook page. So check that out. Get some laughs, and then on Saturday, get your tickets, or get them now, to Something Brilliant, The Rise and Fall of the Illumination Cult. That's going to be streaming. You can watch that anytime you want. And tonight on our program, we're sitting down with the directors, Tad Janes and Gené Fouché. We were just talking about their film, Something Brilliant. But they've also had some spooky experiences in their lives. And I think it's high time the people heard them. So, Stephen, let's bring them back on. Tad, Gené, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having us back.
Hi, Cliff.
Hello again. Tad, Gené, you have had experience with spirits.
We have.
Would you like to tell the story?
Yeah, before we were married, we had a very small row house in Frederick, Maryland, that was inhabited by some otherworldly spirits. And we had a roommate at the time. He saw a ghost first. So he was a little freaked out after moving in, and that night told us about this little girl that he saw watching him move into his room. And so there was that. Then we had a painting that the ghost didn't like very much, because it would always shift the painting off of the wall. So almost every day we would come home and it was of the wall.
So we've already elevated this beyond a ghost story to a poltergeist happening.
You experienced that. He's a naysayer.
He's a skeptic. He's a dirty Scully, as we like to call him on the program.
And you would sit in the living room and you would hear people walking upstairs. One day, I came home and my roommate was sitting out on the front steps in his underwear. And
ooh la la.
Which was not really that unusual.
It was pretty strange. So I came up and he said, "I'm not going back in there. I wasn't going back in there until somebody else got home." He was in the shower and he heard one of us walking down the hallway. It had hardwood floors and it was very creaky. So you could hear people come up the stairs. You could hear them walk down the hall. And so he heard somebody coming and said hello, but nobody said anything. And then he heard that person retreating. And then he called to us. And of course, we didn't answer because we weren't home. And then he got out of the shower because he was so freaked out, because obviously there was somebody in the house. And dried off, started to get dressed, but then he heard something like back in our bedroom. So he took off and went outside or downstairs toward the door. And when he got down toward the door, he heard this big crash upstairs. So he ran back upstairs. He goes into the bathroom where he thought it came from. And there was, the way that our bathroom was set up was there was the sink and the mirror here.
Right.
And then the toilet, and then the bathtub.
Okay.
And so it had like those 1970 fixtures in it. So it had one of those lights that had a
plastic diffuser.
That just like slid in. So you have to slide that in and out to get to the light bulb, right?
Right.
So when he got upstairs, that piece of plastic was teeter-tottering on the edge of the tub. So how did it get there? It would have had to slide out of there, jump over the toilet, and then get to the tub. So that's when he ran outside.
And you said teeter-tottering, so it's like on the side of the tub. It's not even in the tub?
Correct.
Like it's in a very specific, like if there was some momentum, it would have gone into the tub.
Correct. But it's like teeter-tottering on there. So then he ran outside, and then that's when I came home.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, when we went back in, there was nothing going on.
Was
Then
the thing still on the tub?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It hadn't gone anywhere. So then I had an instance where I was in bed one night, and both of these guys had been out, and Tad was working. And usually Lincoln worked really late, but then he would go to the bars after work. So he could come in at any hour of the night. And we had a bedroom in the back of the house, and off of our bedroom was to get to the hallway, you had to cross through a changing room. So we had like a little changing room that had a door to our bedroom and then a door to the hallway. So it was just a little tiny room that you walk through. And I was in bed, and I heard, it's time for Tad to come home. So I thought Tad was coming home. And I heard him walk up the stairs. I heard him walk through the door. He opened the door to the changing room, came through the changing room, opened the door to the bedroom. And then I realized that's not Tad. That's Lincoln. And I thought it was my roommate who it was strange that he was coming into my bedroom. So I got a little frightened, and I was like, I was just kind of aghast. So I didn't say anything yet, but I was getting ready to. And as I just got more and more freaked out, he turned, and I realized that's not Lincoln either. So he was coming for, before he turned, I realized it wasn't Lincoln. And I didn't know, I was just paralyzed. And then he turned around and started walking away, and then I couldn't see him anymore.
When he turned and you realized it wasn't Lincoln, could you make out any sort of features on it, or was it more of just like a shadow?
It was so dark because there was light coming in from the outside. We didn't really have a light on, but the light, any light that there was coming from the hallway. So it was behind him. So
yeah, he was
totally
silhouetted.
Silhouette.
Wow. And so Tad, you say you don't believe in these spectral beings, in these poltergeist occurrences. What's you're a Mr.
I don't know whether I believe or not. It's just that I didn't sense any of that.
You're a spectral agnostic. You're not an atheist. You don't care, but you don't know.
I mean, if it happened to me, then I would recognize it. But I didn't have any occurrence like that. So I have nothing to base it off of.
Ah, all right. Now, do you believe in spirits or ghosts in general?
I think that there's energy, man.
All right, I'll take it.
We're energy, and when we're done, our dust goes somewhere and our energy goes somewhere, man.
Yeah, you blast off into the universe, the next level.
That's right. It's perpetual, the energy. So, we know that.
That's true. Hey, I get the spiritual TikTok feed on my Strange Times Indeed TikTok account. I'm well aware of all the happenings that are going on the astral plane.
I come from a family of fortune tellers too.
Oh,
so I've got that on my side.
You've got a gift. Have you ever felt these latent psychic abilities in yourself?
I have, but I became afraid of them, and so I sort of pushed them aside.
That makes sense. I mean, you're have found a way somehow or another to commune with the energy beyond ourselves, something that very few people are able to tap into do. That's a frightening thing. And it's not always suns and roses. If somebody looked in the future in 2019, they would have told you that.
Yeah, our daughter is on her spiritual path.
Oh.
Learning to read tarot cards. I just wish my grandmother were here to teach her how to do that. She taught me how to do it.
Well, we are getting some applause in the chat for Energy Man. People are loving that methodology.
Yeah.
And hey, if your daughter ever wants to call in and do a tarot reading on the show, more than welcome to.
I don't know that she feels like she's good at it yet.
That's all right. Once she taps into the source. Now, did you have any other ghost stories, any spectral encounters within this house?
Not within that house. I have had another ghost experience, though. I was working at Williamstown Theater Festival, and a friend of mine, his mom ran the box office there, and he was a carpenter for the theater festival. And he and his mom had bought a house in Williamstown that used to belong to one of the town. I don't know if he was a town founder, but he owned the electric company, and they turned it into a bed and breakfast. So I went over to his house one day just to have a snack with he and his mom, and we were sitting there at the table, and it sounded like there was a party upstairs, and they have a bed and breakfast. So I thought it's got to be people upstairs. And I said to his mom, "Oh, you have guests this weekend?" And she said, "No, nobody's coming in." And I was like, "Well, somebody's upstairs.
There's a party happening."
Yeah. And she said, "Oh, that is happening all the time. Those are the ghosts that live here." And then she told me a bunch of other stories about these ghosts that lived in the house, but I heard them every time I went over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a hot spot.
And you'd hear people talking too. It wasn't just like people walking. It was, you could hear footsteps, but you could also clearly hear people talking. You couldn't really hear what they were saying, but it was like conversations were happening.
Wow. So it almost conjures to mind the ballroom scene from Disney's Haunted Mansion, The Ride. A room filled with ghosts having these conversations. Look, Steven's so amazed by it, he even came on screen.
That's wild.
It was bizarre.
Oh my gosh. We have a question. What kind of music were they listening to? That's a question on Facebook.
Definitely not the B-52s. There was no music.
No. Well, another Facebook update. Lena actually commented after being brought up. I'll let you know. So Lena will let you know, Cliff.
All right.
And there was another question way earlier about the house that you had lived in before you were married. How quickly did you move out was the big question. But didn't seem like there was a rush to move out just because of the activity.
Got that lease, man.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a lease for a year, and so we stayed a year.
There you go.
I once guessed how many Red Hots were in a jar.
How many were there?
537.
Dad, now that just shows your brilliance. And the people of the Illumination Cult would say there is some brilliance within us all.
True.
Gené, what makes you so brilliant? We know Tad can count the Red Hots.
Estimate, yes.
Yeah, I think I can see ghosts.
Incredible. I would say my thing that makes me brilliant is my ability to talk. I just keep going for however long I need to, or at the very least for an hour, every Thursday at 9 o'clock, right here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. If you're watching on Facebook, we're not on Facebook that often, but if you've got a story like this is your forum. This is your place to share your experiences. So give us a call, not this week, but another week, and share your stories with me, Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bazaar. Tad, Gené, anything else you'd like to talk about tonight?
Just, check out the film. I think it's pretty entertaining.
Check out the film, Something Brilliant, The Rise and Fall of the Illumination Cult. That's available from the Maryland Ensemble Theater, and that is coming out this Saturday, March 30th. Head over to marylandensemble.org/somethingbrilliant. It's all one word to get your tickets. And yes, you were going to say?
If you like Spinal Tap or Waiting for Guffman or Best in Show or A Mighty Wind or For Your Consideration or Mascots, or Curb Your Enthusiasm, all of those things really play into the style of this piece.
Yes, or if you like films that feature the expertise of paranormal showmans like Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bazaar, you can tune in to Something Brilliant. Give it a check out. Get all your kicks in that one film. Barefoot and 52 said, how can we check out the film? Well, I'm pretty sure I just told you. Head over to marylandensemble.org/somethingbrilliant. And say you like these directors, you think, wow, I wonder if there's a chance I could get to know everyone involved in the film in some way. I hear there's going to be a watch party on Zoom that you can also purchase tickets to. And that is going to be happening on Friday, March 26th at 8 o'clock. Stephen, you're responsible for helping make that go. Stephen, how's that going to work for the viewers at home who want to join the watch party?
Oh, well, if you purchase a ticket for the watch party, you'll get to see it and comment in real time about the film and stick around for when the film is over. We can actually have a Q&A session with you, so that way you can ask people involved with its creation about how it was created. And I actually got my recorder out so I can show the directors here my brilliance. I can make this sound as if we're all in a Western movie.
That's brilliant.
Thank you.
So brilliant, it jarred my dog.
You've jarred the dog, Stephen. Thank you for sharing your brilliance with us tonight. Of course, that watch party is going to be happening on Zoom. That's going to be next Friday. You've got two options. You can purchase the film and watch it anytime, or you can purchase access to the watch party and join the watch party and watch the film anytime. But there's a limit on the Zoom account, so we got to make sure we know how many people are coming. So make sure if you want to join the watch party, get on that. Tad, Gené, thank you so much for calling in tonight and talking to us about your new film from the Maryland Ensemble Theater.
Well, thanks for having us. This was fun.
We love to have fun on the program. I'll go ahead and let y'all go for the night, or you can stick around if you want, but we're going to take you off screen.
Thank you, Cliff. Have a great time. Have a great night. And stay on this planet.
Hey, before we go, can you guys touch those bulbs?
I can power up.
Let's do it. Let's charge up before you go. Go ahead.
Charge up!
Charge up!
Charge it up!
If you're watching at home, sit in your chair and give it a charge up. Maybe stand up if you feel so moved.
Charge up.
Yes, Stephen, he's in the spirit. He's brilliant. Tad, Gené, thank you so much for joining us on the program tonight and sharing your brilliance. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right, folks, you have been watching and enjoying Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. We got a few minutes left on the clock, and let me tell you, there is some news. There are some happenings going out there. We have been tracking this. We have been tracking this since the beginning of the program. The Illinois Chicago O'Hare International Airport Mothman. There have been more sightings of the Mothman in Illinois. We're going to pull this story up right here. Here we go. Whoops, clicked on the wrong one. I promise you folks, here it is. A flying creature over Jackson Park Highlands in Chicago. Could this be the elusive O'Hare International Mothman? Let's hear what the folks are saying. Let's hear what the report says. At approximately 4 p.m. Central Time, the witness was getting off at the Metro bus at the intersection of South Jeffrey Boulevard and East 67th Street in Jackson Park Highlands in South Chicago, near the Mobile gas station. He noticed an unusual flying being approximately 100 to 120 feet above him, adjacent to an apartment building in the vicinity. The witness describes the entity as black in color with bat-like wings, a small bulbous head, and what seemed to be tentacles extending behind it. Now, this is new. You rarely hear about Mothmen with tentacles. Could this be some kind of crossbreed between the Mothman and Frederick's own Snallygaster, a terrifying flying creature, part lizard, part bird, part octopus? One big eye flying through the air? In early century Maryland, eviscerating creatures? Could this be a new Snallygaster in Illinois? Who's to say? We've got tentacles, we've got flying creatures. He stated that it was definitely biological and seemed to be looking down at him and the others. He began to follow it as it made its way to Jackson Park and the golf course. And he continued to follow the entity into a stretch of trees. The entity rolled and displayed an emerald green light on its underbelly. During the entire time, the entity never flapped its wings, but flew up and down in altitude. Also, the witness sensed that the entity was watching him as he chased it. He would dip and turn towards him on occasion. He never determined the structure of a face, the wings being eventually turned towards Lake Michigan and quickly flew towards the east. That's coming from singularfortean.com, right there on their news page. So this frightening creature in Illinois, strange things are happening all over the world, folks. Most continually, most consistently near Chicago, but they are happening. The strange times are happening, and these are strange times indeed. I'm Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre. Every week on this show, we take your calls to hear about your experiences with the unexplained, paranormals, spirits, extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, snallygasters. Perhaps you're a psychic looking to show off your powers a little bit. Perhaps you have had a life lived in a haunted house. Perhaps you've got an experience so unexplainable you don't know where to share it. Well, this is a safe space. We'll never laugh at you for sharing your stories here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, and we hope you'll join us every Thursday at 9 o'clock to do so. Before we wrap up this program, I do want to take a more serious note. As some of you may have heard, a terrible hate crime occurred in Georgia this past week. Here at Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, we stand against all forms of racism, and we're standing with the Asian community here, as we typically would always do. But now the folks are calling it is a year into this pandemic, and because of some racist rhetoric from certain leaders, they are facing an explosion of hate crimes. There have been over 3,500 hate crimes against Asian Americans over the past year. If you are looking, there was a terrible one just the other day. If you are looking to support the Asian American community here in Frederick, you can head over to aacfmd.org. That's the Asian American Center of Frederick. They have resources that are going to help support this community here locally. You know, this is a global problem. Let's be real. These incidents of hate against Asians. So let's go ahead. If you're feeling particularly generous tonight, head over to aacfmd.org. You can support them. You can make a donation to support the Asian American Center of Frederick right there. So do go ahead, consider putting those good things out into the world, supporting this community, making things just a little better, a little safer place if we can. Our goal here, of course, on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister is to end all wars, and to do that, we must get rid of prejudice as a whole. Stephen?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure why I'm bringing you on here. I guess it's just because we're wrapping up the show. I want to say thank you so much for running tech. Hey, Steven, you do things on the twitch.tv/MetComedyNight.
I do.
Is there anything happening in the next 24 hours we might want to know about? Of course, there's Crit performing tomorrow at 9 o'clock, but is there anything else going on?
Actually, tomorrow is my birthday, Cliff.
Steven!
Yeah, I
How
birthday.
old are you?
I'm going to be 29 tomorrow.
29?
Yeah, 29. And actually, there's really not much I was planning to do, but I thought it might be fun to go live on Twitch, go live on my personal Facebook page, hang out, juggle a bit, and see if anyone wanted to wish me a happy birthday on the stream, or even maybe I'll just let them call in and tell me happy birthday in person.
Incredible. And this is all to support the Maryland Ensemble Theater in some way, or just to support you for sure?
I was going to do a fundraiser on Facebook because I am grateful to the Maryland Ensemble Theater for letting me work digitally in this capacity. So I
guess I should say you're supporting the Maryland Ensemble Theater with this, but you're doing it because you have fun doing it, and it's a nice thing to do on your birthday.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a blast on my own page, letting people wish me happy birthday because I'll be live and reacting and engaging with my friends and Met family. But actually, if we raise $290, I was gonna shave my beard on stream. And I will do a fundraiser on Facebook, but I'll also add any Twitch bits or subscribe, whatever. I'll total them together, and if we make it, I can. But the mustache will not go. The mustache has to stay.
You gotta keep the mustache, Steven. It's an iconic part of any face. Yeah. So if you've been enjoying our program, if you've enjoyed Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, if you've ever enjoyed the Comedy Pigs, if you've ever enjoyed Crit, Steven's run tech for all of these shows, and he's having a birthday party on Twitch tomorrow. So tune in, twitch.tv/MetComedyNight. Have some fun with Steven tomorrow. We're all gonna have a birthday party for him. Support the theater and have a good day. Steven, thank you so much for running tech for us tonight. Thank you so much for having your whole birthday party with us right here on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight. Hey, here's a message for you, Steven. Here's a quick message. This is coming from a Panda Fox Comedy who called in the other week with his extraterrestrial experience on the lake. He says, "Whoa, happy birthday. Age is just a number to a bronze god such as yourself."
Oh, that's too sweet.
I just wanted to make sure you got some flattery on camera, Steven, before your birthday.
It's great.
Consider that an early birthday wish from Panda Fox Comedy and everyone in the comments. Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister.
Read that, but I still let you say it to me on air. I feel great.
Well, it's my show. I'll say whatever I want to you on air. Now get off screen, Steven. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our program. Those of you commenting, those of you who watched along on Facebook or on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight, thanks for tuning in to Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. We'll be back next week. We want to hear your calls, your experiences with the strange and the unexplained. For Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, I'm your host, Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre. Stay strange, terrestrials. Flavored like an extraterrestrial species? I'm Cliff McCallister of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, and this is a snack review. The Moa Burger Snack Chip. It is flavored like an extraterrestrial species that has gone extinct in the Halo franchise. What do these chips taste like? Let's let the Czar of the Bizarre tell you right now. Incredible! These chips uphold their promise by tasting like a meat, but not a meat I've ever encountered before, meaning it could only be of extraterrestrial origin. I give these snacks a buy.